All right, so I'm using my hippie paper. Again, this is just a warm-up, fun exercise to accomplish one of several possible goals you may have, depending on where you are in your watercolor journey. It may be just to get into the groove, to get your paints wet, to begin, to get over your fear of the tabula rasa blank canvas. Or it might be that you are a true beginner and you want to learn some techniques without any pressure. You're just playing. And the reason why I painted this was, one, this is the kind of content I wish I would have had when I was a beginner, to kind of hold my hand, get me painting, because you got to put miles on the brush to learn how watercolor works, to learn it. So this is a simple tutorial. You can't mess it up because we're just playing. We're just trying things and seeing what happens when we do different things with our paint that we have and the paper we have and the brush we have. Because depending on what watercolor supplies you have, your supplies will work differently than mine. So you've got to play with them no matter what. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to paint this tree and we're just going to have fun. I myself am using my Hippie watercolor paper, which is a student grade paper that I really like. I'm using my size 8 round silver black velvet brush that's half synthetic hair and half natural hair. And I'm using my Mia paints, which this paint set is beautiful, but it's only $20 on Amazon. I highly recommend it. If you don't want to spend a bunch of money and you're trying to figure out if watercolor is even for you, this is a great set. It is not chalky like all other beginner paints that I've tried are chalky. Not this. It's gorgeous. I cannot tell the difference between this and my professional paint. So I myself am just getting my brush wet, getting my paint wet. I'm not worrying about milk or tea or cream consistency. By the way, I do have videos about what milk, tea, and cream consistency paint is. It's very important to understand as you progress through your journey of watercolor. But for now, just blop on some paint, blop on some colors. It doesn't matter what colors. Trees can be red or orange or green or yellow. I myself, for my personal goals, was to get a variety of values. That's why I left a couple places perfectly dry for white sparkles, and other places have a lot of extra water added. Those will dry a lot lighter. And then at the bottom of the tree, the way I was thinking was there's less light reaching that area of the tree, so it's going to be darker. So I used thicker paint with less water added. So that's what I myself did. But there's no wrong answer. I put a few splashes to loosen it up and just kind of put me in a playful mood, because that helps loosen me up to just splash around and just have fun. And here, I went in and I got some blue. I'm adding more blue to the bottom of my tree because, again, bottoms of trees usually face away from the sky, so they're darker. And they have more blues in them because they're in shadow. And then the top is facing towards the top of the light source, which is the warm sun, so it's warmer. And I'm using almost pure water there with just a little paint added at the top of my tree. And trees look better if you get all the values represented, where you have a big block of dark, maybe a medium amount of mediums, and a little bit of lights here and there, or in some other combination. But you don't want equal parts light, medium, dark. You want a variety of values. But that's a little bit more advanced idea if you're a super beginner. Just worry about putting different colors down and playing and seeing what the paint does if you do this and what does the paint do if you do that. And this particular blue had an amazing diffusion. It acts like a phthalo, and if you watch it when you put it in real watery areas, it diffuses and explodes out and pushes the other colors away, which is interesting. And I would have never known that if I didn't just do this play tree. Even me, an advanced artist, I'm learning something about my supplies here by doing this very simple exercise. So don't poo-poo it. These are very good exercises to do no matter what level of painting experience you're at. And some of these colors I haven't used in the Mia palette, so hey, there you go. Here I'm using the tippy tip of my brush and holding my brush at the very end to get loose calligraphic brush strokes here for the thinner branches. So the more loose you want to be, the farther out you want to hold your brush. The more perfect you want to be, more realistic, you're going to hold your brush closer down to the bristles to give you more control. So if your goal is to be loose, hold your brush at the end. If your goal is to be tight, hold it at the very closest to the bristles. And the way I think beginners learn best is by doing realistic paintings and just copying basically a photograph that you like, because then you really learn how to control your materials. But doing something like this that is loose, I'm not looking at any reference, I'm just playing. That's also a good way to just learn your materials. And then as the paper goes into buckling stage, I do have videos on my beginner basics about different stages of paper moisture level. That's so important to learn too. Be sure to watch that. If you want to progress as a watercolor artist, you got to understand that. But as the paper goes into buckling, I like to sprinkle some water to make some cauliflower effects, especially for a tree. Although right now my paint is really puddling, it's really not in buckling stage. And if I was patient, I would wait probably about 6 minutes and then do a few sprinkles of water, or sprinkle some kosher salt. Experiment with that, see what you think. That would look really cool in a tree. Just don't put too much, just a few pieces of kosher salt. After the painting goes into glistening stage, you don't have any puddles. If you put your salt in puddles and it won't do much, wait until your paper dries and the puddles go away. You can lay a piece of toilet paper on this stage and get the puddles up, and it won't lift up much paint, just the water, and then it'll dry a little faster. Then you can put on your salt. I didn't even think of that, but I would have done it if I thought about it. And then I felt like my tree was a little stiff, so you're going to see me go in a minute. I think I get my rigger to do this and just kind of scribble through the tree, and it was fun. And it's also a great way to build muscle memory to learn how to make these calligraphic fast marks. Like a lot of you were saying, oh, those Christmas trees you did, Rachel, I could never do that. Well, this right here is a perfect exercise to do to start building muscle memory. It might look like a bunch of silliness, but it's not, because I'm learning to control my brush, get really swirly, twirly brush marks. At first, your first tree is going to probably look horrible. That's okay. You got to get muscle memory to do this. So just keep practicing. And then I'm trying to sop up some of that water. I should have gotten a piece of toilet paper here. I'm patiently picking up some of my water because I wanted the very top of my tray to be super light, and those puddles will dry with a good bit of color in them, and I want them to be lighter because I want there to be a bit of a gradient from light to medium to dark in my tree. If it's all a medium value, that's a very normal, typical beginner mistake to make everything medium valued and have no lights and darks. That's a big mistake most beginners make. And you can let this completely dry, and then if you think it needs more darks, you can add some more darks or some more mediums. After it dries, you can glaze another layer, maybe with more dabby type brush strokes over this, and then create some leaf effects. Here I'm putting in drips of clean, clear water for my push technique that I like to call my push technique, but it's really just creating cauliflowers. There's a whole video on that. You just go to my YouTube channel, and in my little search box on my YouTube channel, search push technique, and you'll learn all about it. And here's my little finished tree, happy little tree. And I love the glow that it looks like it has because I have those light areas. I just love that about watercolor. So be sure to post your picture or your tree that was hopefully inspired by this tutorial. I hope I inspired you to get over your initial fear of at least playing with your watercolor supplies and seeing what you get and just having fun and splashing around. I would love to see what you come up with. So post them on my Facebook group. Come on over to my Facebook group at Watercolor Animals with Rachel. Join my Patreon if you would like to access even more content. I thank all my Patreon subscribers so much for their support. Now go watercolor your world. Bye, everybody.